Welcome to Between Rest and Movement, the podcast of Lindet and Broek, where we explore the balance between action and rest, strength and softness. Here you will discover how slowing down and feeling can go hand in hand with expression and energy. Whether you are walking in nature, doing yin yoga, or just moving with dance and strength training, this podcast offers inspiration to embrace both your yin and yang sides and so much more. How lovely to connect with you, dear Lisa. How long are we going back in time by meeting each other for the first time?
I think it was way before COVID, a few years before COVID. So probably 7 years.
It was with the storytelling festival in Sintra in Portugal that we met each other. And there was an immediate click between us. And it was also really being in the forest of Sintra, that fairy tale energy that's all around, and then the storytelling with all kinds of creative workshops and people from all around the globe. That was really amazing to just to be there.
And I think part of the magic of all of that has helped ground our friendship because it's, very special.
It is, eh? Yeah, yeah. Lisa, can you share something about who you are, where you're based, and what you love to create or help people with?
Okay, my name is Lisa Nackan, and I was born in South Africa. I've been living in Toronto in Canada for about 35 years now. When my children were small, I went back to school to study to become an art therapist. So I'm now an art therapist and a psychotherapist, and I absolutely love my work. I think it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to share the space with people and explore such deep thoughts and feelings and sort of go on this journey with them. I also write, but in my spare time, or not really in my spare time, more as a form of relaxation and grounding and self-care for sure, I draw these really huge mandalas, and that's really something that's been sort of supporting me for many years now.
What is a mandala?
It's a very, very old, ancient, I believe, Buddhist tradition. And what they used to do long ago, and I believe it's still done, is you create these magnificent geometric mandalas, but fill in the colors with sand. And sometimes the monks can take up to a year, maybe more, to create the mandala. And then they will literally sweep the sand aside. And it's almost, well, to me, it's symbolic of how mindful we need to be and how fleeting time is and how really it's the moment that matters. And for me, the mandala, when I'm creating, is all about the process more than the end product, even though the end product is always surprising. I started off sort of scribbling mandalas. I learned about them when I was studying to become an art therapist many years ago, but it's evolved from sort of being scribbled on pieces of paper to now I use large, I think it's 18 by 24 inches watercolor paper. And I now use a compass and rulers and things to create. So I'll draw a huge circle as big as I can on my paper in pencil. And then I'll normally start in the middle and draw a little circle and just allow the shapes to happen. It's this really subconscious process. And then I fill in the shapes, then I link the shapes. And when I'm finished in pencil, I'll sort of draw the outlines of the shapes with a fine permanent marker. And when you look at it at that stage, it's this really complicated geometric drawing that somehow, for me, is symbolic of the chaos of my life. And when you look at it like that, it's just, oh my gosh. And the next step for me is to use color, and I use sort of markers or Sharpies, and I fill in the shapes with color. And this is the part that for me feels like it's a deep psychological subconscious process, because it's like I'm making sense out of all the chaos and
Mm.
I'm organizing the shapes in color, and the color just helps me navigate through this big mass of chaos. And it's just such a beautiful, mindful, grounding process.
Mm. Why? So while creating it, a theme comes up. So without thinking of it, it comes to the surface, it comes to your pencil, and by coloring it, it really gets even more deeper meanings. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, sometimes I'm aware of a theme, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I only see it within those shapes when I look at it after. When a cousin of mine, an elderly woman, passed away probably a couple of years ago, I did a mandala after. And I don't believe I was thinking of much, but when I looked at it, I could see angels.
Oh,
And it was not done intentionally, but the angel wings, and it was just there all over the mandala. So
mm,
it's sometimes afterwards that I see what's in there. Indigenous people use medicine wheels, which are mandalas, and each segment of the medicine wheel or part of the mandala will represent something. And I didn't even know that either. And there are people who have devised ways to interpret or analyze mandalas, but it's not something I want to look into because I don't want it to taint my process.
yeah, that's true. Because otherwise you make it flat and it's so more than three-dimensional what it speaks to you. It's beyond words, I think. You can feel it, you can sense it, you can be in it and let the process, yeah, just flow
What
and
what
move.
do you what do you see or imagine when you see a mandala? Or what's sort of your feeling around a mandala?
Mm. Behind me, perhaps you can see it.
I
It's,
can
of
see.
course,
I've been
it's,
looking at the whole time.
yeah.
Okay.
I got that one in Nepal, in Kathmandu, when I was there more than 12 years ago. And sometimes I just sit and look and feel and meditate. And sometimes um, some shapes come out of the mandala, sometimes not,
Mm,
sometimes words. So I can keep on looking at that same mandala. So it gives me grounding, but
yeah.
also stillness. And also, I give myself permission just to sit. And even with my eyes closed, I can be with that mandala. So for me, that's a huge insight process. And I get warmth now.
Mm,
For me, that's a token that I'm on the right page. Sometimes I get shivering in my legs, and now I feel warmth. I think this is, yeah, if you say to people in a session or a coaching session, we're going to dive deep into whatever there is,
yeah.
then it's less than 1% of what it is, you
Yeah.
know? So I think you can feel so many different angles around mandalas, using for yourself. And sometimes it's more than enough to do it yourself because it heals yourself. And so you can share it with others, the wisdom or the grounding or the deep knowing without words. So that's a
As you,
long answer to your question, sorry.
that's great. As you were speaking, it reminded me that Carl Jung believed that a mandala is like a snapshot of your soul at the moment the mandala was created.
Ah,
And it made me think of that because, in a way, creating a mandala then is sort of honoring that moment,
that is
because you you giving space for that moment. And yeah.
Yeah. And time, is it not existing then, eh?
Yeah.
It can be flowing, it can be just a few minutes, or just forget and give yourself permission just to be and let it move through you, because I think it's moving through you. It's not
Yeah,
you. You are
definitely.
a channel.
Definitely feels like that. And it's you completely, or I'm completely in a state of flow.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And do you work, it's not the right word, but do you use it in your sessions with clients as well?
Yes. Mandalas actually, and in a slightly different way, have been really found to be helpful for people with dementia,
Okay.
because what you would do is you'd give them a piece of paper, probably with a circle, and
Mm-hmm.
the circle is a container.
Yeah.
And um, and the circle is inviting, and it's sort of this invitation to fill it with whatever you're feeling or whatever's in your mind or whatever colors pull
Mm.
you to them at that moment. And so for sure, I've used it. I've used it for that population. I've used it a lot in groups when you want to sort of bring in some sort of calm, and even teaching young children about a mandala. And sort of children are fascinated, and you start off with a circle, and sometimes you'll get a child who'll put a face in the
Yeah.
circle because that's sort of what they know, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it a lot.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's a never-ending process. You can keep on doing it again and seeing every mandala with new and fresh eyes, I think, as well. Or perhaps the same mandala the next day with fresh
Yeah,
eyes or fresh senses. Yeah, because it's beyond your eyes. If you close your eyes, you still can see even more.
yeah. And if any of your listeners want to try creating their own mandalas, it's also really interesting to give your mandala a name afterwards, but don't think too hard. Just think of
Yeah.
a word or a few words or a phrase that sort of feel as though it captures that mandala or that moment for you. And it's really interesting to reflect back, especially if you have a bunch of them.
Wow, that's really a nice invitation. And just to get a blank paper, put a circle on
That's all you
it.
need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And give yourself some color pencils or whatever, and just sit and yeah,
And see where the colors and your heart leads you.
yeah. Because you are saying that you begin in the middle.
You don't have to.
You
That's
don't have to.
what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can begin on the edge. You can begin not symmetrically. Um, yeah, there's no rules. Absolutely
Mm,
no rules.
mm, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you create mandalas every week on the same day, or do you have a kind of routine in it? How do you incorporate that in your daily life, dear Lisa?
I do things when I need to.
That's great. Yeah.
When I need to uh, make sense out of the chaos that I'm feeling inside, I'll sit down and do a mandala. Or when I feel as though I need to be more mindful,
Yeah.
or when I need to ground myself, I'll do a mandala. And I've actually found that when I go on vacation or go away, I often need to. So
Yes.
I now have sort of a set of markers, and I found a way to fit my huge paper in my suitcase.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I bring it with me on vacation.
Yeah. And Lisa, how do you know that you need it? Can you feel it in your body, or can you
It's
how
definitely a feeling in my body that it's almost like there's a lot of movement in my body that needs to be released.
Hmm.
And and this is a way that I can put the movement on the paper and calm myself.
Wow. Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Is there anything more you want to share
I have
with
another
the
question.
listeners?
Is
Yeah.
that I've known you for a long time, but I don't know if you do a lot of, like, I know you write, absolutely,
Yeah.
but do you do any art activities?
Um, I make mood boards from magazines.
Oh,
Most
that's
of the
fantastic.
Yeah, most of the time at the end of the year or the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and I put them on the doors in my house. So they are really huge, or I put them on the table and put plastic around it so I can look at it every day. So it need to be huge. So one A4 is too small. I need more
That's
space.
amazing.
Yeah, and I love it. And sometimes I think, okay, I'm missing a couch, and then I'm in a cafe and drinking coffee, and then I found a magazine with a couch. So then I ask, can I tear it from the magazine? Of course you can. So I know that those signals or sign come to me, and I love to dance. So thanks for asking. So sometimes we do things we don't know that we are doing because it's so normal, or but asking that question and then feeling that emotion or sensation around it, that's nice. I like that.
I think that even gardening can be creative and even
Mm.
cooking can be creative.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but also as you were speaking, I've worked with people and we've used the same thing with magazines and collage for a mandala.
Yeah.
Because
For
you draw,
mandala.
yeah, you
Okay.
draw the circle and you can fill it in with images that you pull towards.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and another thing you can do is you can do a mandala outside, even in the forest, using found objects.
Yeah.
You can draw a
Yeah.
circle in the sand, and you can use stones and leaves and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we did at a wedding I had last August in the Czech Republic. And we asked the people, the witnesses, and all the people who were attending the wedding to bring something that was not something, uh, how can I say, that you can find on the ground of the forest. And it was amazing what came up. That was really nice what you were saying. So nature gives us so many treasures to honor the day or to honor the moment and really make connection with that nature you brought in the circle. Yeah, that's what we did. Thanks.
that's
That's yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. That's really nice. And I had another wedding in May, and there was a huge circle on the ground as well. And that was not with the participants who created something, but that was created before. But that was the holy circle where the couple stood in and gave each other the vows and the yes words. And I did the hand fasting in. So it's really. It seems like I do more with circles and holy circles.
It made me think of another thing is that when I did one of my very first art therapy groups with children, they were in about probably grade one, grade two, and there were children who had allergies and anaphylaxis. And
Hmm.
I'd made this big circle of rope. I'd attached to the rope flowers and bells and leaves and shiny objects, and I put it on the floor in the circle. And I don't remember what I called it, a magic circle or circle of power or something, but the kids loved it. And some of the little boys would stand in there and say things like, I can feel that I'm stronger in here.
Ah,
And it was so beautiful. And we'd sort of sit in the circle and talk about how, we were going to keep ourselves safe and manage our allergies and
mm,
sort of feel the power from each other. So a circle is just incredible.
it is. What amazing and how nice how kids bring up the themes themselves, that they can sense it and feel it. And that's what we humans can do,
Yeah,
just by stepping up. No matter how old or young you are,
yeah,
you have that magic in you. You can feel it.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. And
Beautiful.
And there's mandalas all around us in nature. I mean, our planet is a circle. And often I'll take my camera and decide I'm going to take pictures of sort of mandalas in nature. And you look inside the center of a flower,
Yeah.
or sort of the way maybe a weed is growing on the ground with all the leaves, coming from an inner circle, and
Yeah.
really beautiful.
If we all can watch with curiosity to all things that are already around us.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's so healing and helpful and precious as well, huh?
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for our lovely conversation.
Thank you for inviting me.